one question, whether or not I'm going to take my family back there. Because in a way you are thinking whether or not you can take your family back there. We would all like to be able to go back home and be able to live there if possible. And I see in a realistic sense that we can keep flowing and going back and forth. We don't have to be pinned in one place. We cannot divest because honestly, my life has been for the past 40 years here in America. My children live here, my friends live here, everybody that I know is here. So if
it's almost unfair to them.
If I was to go back, what do I go back to?
The son of the Shah, considering returning to Iran. He hasn't been there for a very long time. Some people have a problem with that.
As someone whose family was exiled from Iran in 1979 when the revolution occurred and whose mother actually worked for the Shah, I have a question for people like Patrick Bet David who think that Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son, should go back and run Iran. What the hell has Reza Pahlavi done to show you that he's qualified to run a country, much less Iran? Yeah, he was the Shah's son, but he has lived in the United States since he was 19 for the past 47 years. And in those 47 years, he has literally never worked a day in his life. He has never had a job. I would not hire this guy to be my analyst. And you think it's a great idea for him to go and run Iran? I mean, are you serious? And it's this type of nostalgic thinking that got Iran to the place that it is now. I mean, the people of Iran thought that the mullahs were going to run the country better than the Shah. I mean, these mullahs who've never done anything in their lives, without thinking through, have these mullahs ever run anything but a prayer group? And the same stands for Reza Pahlavi. I mean, I think we should have a secular democracy, sure, but Reza Pahlavi does not have the qualifications to run a damn country. So instead of being nostalgic that he was the Shah's son, why don't you just be a little more forward thinking and start to consider who should run Iran? Maybe some internal person who has led revolutions in Iran, who has led revolts, who understands how the government works, who understands the plight of the people in Iran, not some dude who's lived in DC for the past 47 damn years and hasn't done shit. And for those who disagree with me, let me know in the comments what Reza Pahlavi has done. Name one thing he has done that qualifies him to go and run a country when he's been living in the United States for the past 47 years without a damn job.
Is it a mistake for the Iranian democracy movement to pin all their hopes on the son of a dictator? What has he got that's going to bring anything to the people of Iran? But where else do they turn? Where else do you turn if you're a pro-democracy, or are they even pro-democracy? They're anti the Islamic Republic. Do we know what they want to replace it with? He has said himself that he would hope for a secular democracy eventually. Let's hear from some more pro-democracy movement.
So for a long time, I thought the left was my home. They talked about justice and human rights, things I genuinely believe in. And as someone who's gay, Iranian, Jewish, the son of immigrants, I thought this was where those values actually lived. That all fell apart for me in 2022 after the murder of Mahsa Amini, when Iranians were being killed for fighting for basic freedom. And all of those voices that never seemed to shut up about justice, all of a sudden just seemed to disappear. Then October 7th happened and anti-Semitism exploded under the guise of anti-Zionism. Now watching what's happening in Iran today, watching people risk their lives on the streets, I keep asking myself the same question I asked in 2022 and in 2023, which is, where the fuck is everybody? Where are they? Because the people showing up for Iranians right now are the ones the left warned us about. The people who we are told are anti-justice are the ones speaking up for justice in Iran. And the ones who are supposedly the arbiters of justice are completely silent. You know who's going hard for Iran right now? Israelis and Jews. And for most of the left, the optics of their trendy hatred of Israel matters more than solidarity with the people of Iran who are risking their lives in the bravest ways imaginable. Walking away from the left didn't mean walking away from justice. I still believe in LGBT rights, in women's rights, in equality, in freedom. And that's exactly why I won't stop fighting for Iran. And you know what? The people of Iran don't even need the American left's permission to demand freedom. They're demanding it anyway, because a real fight for justice doesn't stop to ask who you voted for or if you're a Zionist. They simply don't have that privilege.
This is turning into a real left-right issue, as so many things do these days. And a lot of people are asking the question, if you spoke out for Gaza, Why are you not speaking out now? If you said free Palestine, why are you not saying free Iran? Is it because Israel have openly declared their support, their desire for the Islamic regime to fall, that people feel uncomfortable getting on board with that, having strange bedfellows? We did see a tweet from J.K. Rowling, author of Harry Potter. If you claim to support human rights yet can't bring yourself to show solidarity with those fighting for their liberty in Iran, you've revealed yourself. You don't give a damn about people being oppressed and brutalized so long as it's being done by the enemies of your enemies. Yeah, my enemy's enemy is my friend. Bobby Ver is here again tonight. Great to see you again, Bobby. You're a true supporter. Left wing, right wing, both wings of the same bird. Very good point. And you need both wings to fly. Some people are so quick to start throwing the left and the right label around. I get it in the comments a lot. Someone said left wing drivel, which I thought was quite a good word. This image, AI generated image, was based on a photo taken in Canada, I believe. That's an Iranian woman in Canada, not in Iran. Of course, you're risking a lot coming out without a hijab in Iran because it's illegal, but that's part of what they're protesting about, isn't it? But it's quite a powerful image. Understandable that that would have done the rounds. Let's hear from Fox News, if we must.
I don't care if they extract him, but I want him to be considered. He's the modern day Hitler. He's a religious Nazi. He's a horrible person. It's time for
the modern day. Well, we've said his name now. The modern day Hitler. There's been quite a few of those. Apparently, Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, according to Fox News, is another one.
Him to go. The people want him to go. Trump has done what Reagan did. Reagan went to the Berlin Wall and said, tear this wall down. Donald Trump picked the people over the Ayatollah. Donald Trump says the best way to make Iran great again is for the protesters to win and the regime to come down. How do you do that? Whatever action we're going to take, Mr. President, needs to embolden the protesters and scare the hell out of the regime. If I were you, Mr. President, I would kill the leadership that are killing the people. You've got to end this. If it ends well, then peace breaks out. All the state sponsor of terrorism activity stops. Hezbollah, Hamas, they go away. Israel and Saudi make peace, a new day in the Mideast. If the Ayatollah hangs on, it's a giant Obama step backward. I have faith in you, Mr. President. I have trust in you. You are the Ronald Reagan plus of our time. End this will. Stand with the people, Mr. President. Let them know you're going to kill their oppressors.
Thank you so much. Scott makes a great point. Let them fight their own battles. They've had problems ever since Ayatollahs came out of France. That's right, the Ayatollah Khamenei was in France during the reign of the Shah. We know that the Shah was installed in the 1950s and then he returned from France. Did France have a hand in turning Iran into an Islamic regime? 5 pints at the moment is saying idiot. Okay, I don't know who you're directing that to, 5 pints, but if you've had 5 pints, maybe you're up for a fight. I don't know. Let's get another clip up there. The clips keep coming. Another supporter of regime change in Iran, or at least a new regime. Let's have a listen.
Hello, Iranian here. They keep asking the same question. Why are lefties, why are the loudest pro-Gaza voices completely silent when it comes to Iran? Well, the answer is simple, because the truth exposes the lie. Because acknowledging Iran would shatter the ideological fantasy that they built. Let's be clear, Islamic Republic of Iran is not a victim of Western imperialism. It is a theocratic authoritarian regime that survives by exporting violence, funding Islamists, and crushing its own people. And yes, it funds Hamas, it funds Hezbollah, it funds all the little proxies around the region and around the world with Iranian people's money, not the government money, not the regime money. stolen money taken from the worker who cannot afford bread in Iran right now. Families crushed by inflation, taken from women who are beaten, jailed, tortured, raped for refusing religious obedience. And this is why leftists are silent. Because Hamas fits their narrative, but Iranian people don't. Because Islamist violence against Israelis can be reframed as a resistance. But Islamist violence against Iranian exposes the truth. Right now, as you're watching this, Iran, a country of more than 92 million people, is being erased in real time. Near total blackout for more than 24 hours. No internet, no call services, no connectivity whatsoever. And yet silence. No emergency protests on Western campuses, no hashtags, no solidarity statements, no megaphones, no tears. Because Iranian suffering does not fit their agenda. Because leftist movements today are not driven by human rights, they are driven by selective outrage and ideological loyalty. They will scream about censorship unless it's done by an Islamist regime. They will condemn the state violence unless it's wrapped in religious language. They will chant Free Palestine, but they will never say Free Iran, because that will require admitting something unforgivable, that political Islam is not liberation, it is domination. And that is exactly what's been happening in the West, by the way. That the Islamic Republic is not anti-imperialist, it is imperial toward its own people. That Hamas is not some isolated resistance group. It is part of a broader Islamist ecosystem that is funded, trained, and sustained by the regimes like Islamic Republic in Iran. And here's the part that they do not want to hear. You cannot claim moral superiority while excusing a regime that kills and murders women for refusing hijab, executes protesters, cuts off the whole nation of 92 million people from the internet, and uses foreign proxies as a distraction from its internal collapse. You cannot pretend to care about Palestinians while ignoring Iranians being shot, tortured, and murdered by the Islamic Republic in Iran. That is not solidarity. That is ideological blindness. Iranian people are not silent. They are being silenced. And the silence from the Western left, well, that's a choice. A choice to protect an ideology, a choice to excuse Islamism, a choice to look away when millions of people are suffering. Because their suffering, Iranian people's suffering, complicates a slogan. History will remember this moment. It will remember who spoke for universal freedom and who decided that some lives matter less than preserving a narrative. Long live Iran.
She made some good points there. The proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, they're not rebels anymore, they're running the country. Are there any other Iranian proxies that I haven't mentioned, that I've missed out? Let me know if you can mention any of them. Mohammed Omar saying Gaza and Iran are very different situations. Yes, I suppose so. I suppose so. Let's hear from Tommy Helmoy Racist Robinson. He is an expert on Iran and very much in favour of women's rights, apparently. Let's have a listen.
You know, the Iranian regime has also threatened preemptive military action if the US and Israel intervene. So Iran's security chief, in fact, just today, Ali Larijani, has declared that it's already a war with the protesters and the regime will not back down before the protesters. Does a possible US involvement not risk more bloodshed and suffering for Iranians?
Iran has been at war. The Islamic regime has been at war with the West for decades. This is nothing new. As I said, they fund their proxy armies absolutely everywhere to destabilize, to destroy, to cause, to break the West. They've been working. Oh, it's done it again. Oh, sorry. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, sounds okay, because the phone's going off again. So I believe that the 70 to 90 million people in Iran's freedom is worth the battle. I want to see them free. And as I said, we hold responsibility. We do hold responsibility. We helped put that Ayatollah in, and that has resulted in the enslavement and the violations of the freedom and the kidnapping, really, of an
Well, he's making sense on that point, isn't he? The West created the situation that led to the ascension of the Ayatollahs to power.
Entire nation of people. So I hope to see it is a fight that you can see now the people are ready to have. They want an end to it. I think Donald Trump has said very publicly, I'd love to see him support them. And he doesn't have to put boots on the ground. No one's saying put British boots on the ground or American boots on the ground. He doesn't have to. I think he just showed the might of the American military with what he done in Venezuela.
Interesting you mentioned Venezuela. I was just about to come to that because there's already much chatter about how after Venezuela, Iran could be next. In fact, senior Iranian official and ideologue Hassan Rahimpour Azghadi has said that Iran must do with Trump what they did to Maduro. Is US stoking a wider conflict in the Middle East, even more so after its strikes on Iranian nuclear sites last year? What's endgame Iran?
Well, the end game is we need to end Iran. We need to end the power of the Islamic regime. That's the end game. Has to happen anyway. So you can wait 5 years, you can wait 10 years. If they get the nuclear capabilities, they will launch them straight away. They're a jihadist state. They're a jihadist state. So every conflict, when you talk about the conflict that's going on in the Middle East, every terrorist attack, every uprising, every Islamic problem is from Iran. Probably because Barack Obama gave them billions of pounds to help them on their way. But I believe you either solve it now or there'll be bloodshed in the future anyway. Right now, Iran are at their weakest. They're at their weakest because Israel has obliterated them after October 7th. Now they're at their weakest while they're down. I think that this is the moment to seize opportunity and end them.
I think there'll be quite a lot of moderate, middle of the road Iranian people that want, a change in their country, and they probably feel a bit uncomfortable that they are on the same team as Tommy Robinson. A bit like if you don't eat meat and you find out that Hitler was a vegetarian, it doesn't mean that you have that much in common. World of Free Speech is saying Tesla stock is about to take off. Or shall we all get on there and buy some right now? Thank you for the insider tip. Let's hear from some more activists. A lot of Iranian diaspora in all corners of the world have got their eyes on what's happening back home.
Hi there. Please stop scrolling for a second because CNN is not showing this. TikTok is blocking it, and we need your help. What you're not being told is that Iran is going through a full-scale revolution. They're saying it's a protest about economy, gas prices, and inflation. It's about human rights. And people are in the streets right now getting slaughtered because they want to live without fear. They want freedom of speech. They want control over their bodies. They want the right to choose how they live, how they dress, how they think, how they believe. And they're also rejecting the entire system where religion controls the state. Iranians are done being ruled by clerics. They're done with laws enforced in the name of Islam, done with an Islamist government that decides every part of their life. This is a full-scale revolution against the entire Islamic Republic. Millions of people are out there. They're not armed. They're not attacking anyone. The regime is shooting them. People are being killed for standing in public and asking for freedom. The internet has been shut down so the world cannot see it. And this is where the story gets really uncomfortable. In the West, the leftist narrative keeps explaining this regime instead of listening to the people living under it. They call it culture, they call it religion, they call it complicated, but Iranians are saying very clearly the system is destroying our lives and we want out. Here in the US, President Donald Trump already said what would happen if the regime started killing its own people. He said there would be hell to pay. He said that the US was locked and loaded. Now, people are being killed. The people that were killing themselves over Gaza are now very, very quiet when it comes to Iran. This is why this matters. Not later, not after another news cycle, right now. People inside Iran are risking their lives just to be seen and heard. They cannot post freely. They cannot call newsrooms. They cannot pressure politicians. But we can. If millions of people outside Iran speak up at the same time, news agencies are forced to pay attention, politicians are forced to answer questions, silence becomes much harder to maintain. This is why I've already written a text. It is in the caption of this video. It includes the hashtags. It includes the politicians to tag. It includes the news outlets. All you have to do is copy it, add your name, and tweet it. People in Iran are doing their part that costs blood. The least we can do is make sure the world is watching.
Gustav was saying freedom is seen as chaos, yet when everyone thinks they're good, Yeah, do bad, then freedom is freedom to do good. Freedom. Yeah, we all want freedom. Do you think America will go into Iran? I hope not. I heard a rumour that before the end of the month there will be some kind of a strike in Iran, but maybe now that I've said that, it won't happen. I've blown the cover. What is true freedom? True freedom, I think Bob Marley summed it up when he told us to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. They can put you in a cell, but they can't take your mind. Can you really escape the matrix? If you are free in your mind, if you take those moments, I think true freedom comes from submission. If you're in a river, you can't swim against the current all your life. If you go with the flow, if you submit to the will of the Creator, you will find freedom in that. Do you know of Bob Marley's dad? All that I know of Bob Marley's dad is, I believe, was he English? I believe he was white. Bob Marley was of mixed heritage, black and white, I think, and his father was a white man. I did watch the film One Love recently. Great film. Great. Love Bob Marley. Love all his songs. Modad are admitted to be in Iran. Yeah, Modad are admitted to be in Iran. Who the hell was saying that garbage about supporting the insurgents with their AKs? Get a grip. That's okay, actually, John. We know what you meant. You don't even need to type it. We got you. Auto-correct. Here's some more opinions. I'll get you the next clip up. And of course, voices from all corners of the world. It's difficult to get any information from Iran because they've banned the internet.
It seems a lot of the protesters want that radical change to be a return to the past, a return to life under the Shah, which of course happened up until 1979, because they are using the name Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son, who was in the US when his father fell, has been there ever since. I mean, could feasibly we see a return to those days, a return to the Shah and Reza Pahlavi returning to Iran?
I think it's completely unfeasible. I mean, when we say that there is a call for the return of the Shah in Iran, this is again quite brought by an echo chamber of social media in which monarchists tend to be very strong. And part of it is because they are supported by major Western powers in this demand. On the ground, I would see this as highly unlikely. The Iranian population have a variety of opinions about the future of Iran, and the people taking the streets come from very different social, economic, cultural groups, and they include, leftists, right-wingers, religious moderates who do not agree with the Islamic Republic, as well as people who do not hold very strong political opinions, but they can't really cope with the economic situation. So the return of the Shah is something that is picked up mostly by the virtual online sphere, I would say.
Bobby is giving us an update on Bob Marley. His father served for the British Empire and was Jewish, married a Jamaican lady. I did not know that Bob Marley's father was Jewish. Very interesting, especially given that the Rastafarian movement regard themselves as the true Israelites, the true descendants of Jacob. Bobby is saying many years ago Jamaica once had a huge white population, was once a majority of the island. Wow, and once upon a time native Jamaican people would have been the majority population, but I believe they were completely wiped out. I forget the name of the tribe that they had there. Yes, natives before that. Yeah, natives and pirates. Yeah, Jamaica rum and all that. And the philosophy of Jamaica is isn't it? From many, we are one. From many, one people. Something like that. So they're all about unity, regardless of the various different backgrounds. I didn't know that about Bob Marley. I knew that Sean Paul, another great musician from Jamaica, has a Jewish heritage, Portuguese Jewish heritage on one side of his ancestry. I didn't know that about Bob Marley. And we said the other night, Nicolas Maduro has Sephardic Jewish heritage. So there's a lot of Sephardic Jewish blood in the Caribbean, it would seem. Another clip for you guys. Patrick Bet-David, who is of Christian, Armenian and Assyrian background, having grown up in Iran. So he has the experience of a Christian in the Islamic Republic of Iran.
The Iranian people have been wanting to get away from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard for 47 years. For 47 years, the number one candidate that everybody would talk about that could pull this off is the son of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, which his name is Reza Pahlavi. Everybody wants him to go back and do it. He's supposed to be the savior. The only difference between the last 47 years and today is there's a guy at the White House that they fear in Iran. When I mean fear, they know his threats are not regular threats. There are certain people you fight when he tells you, if you say something, I'm going to hit you. And you're like, no, this guy's full of it. When President Trump tells you he's going to do something, he does it. Iranians remember when he took out Qasem Soleimani, and they realized this is not a regular guy to play around with. But here's what I will tell you. Emotions are very high right now, very, very high right now. And people around the world who are Iranians that want to go back and see their country, all of us remember the history of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, how amazing of a job he did. He gets criticized a lot. But to us Iranians who came from there, I was born during that time, and my family stayed in Iran for 11 more years. So I lived in Iran under Khomeini for 11 years. But here's what's happening that media is not talking about. We're hearing reporting about 200 people. Why would Khamenei and Pezeshkian turn off the internet for 3 days? The numbers I'm getting is 2,000, 4,000. Doctors, hospitals sending reports saying these numbers are higher than it is. And there's a couple things going on, but I'll pause here. There may be a follow-up question from you guys.
Well, one of the things I think is kind of interesting, and I'd be interested if you have noticed this, I feel like many of the outlets, mainstream media outlets, seem to be ignoring this story. Do you see that? And if they are, why are they ignoring the story?
It is a complete blackout on the Iranian, well, politically it goes against what they're doing and what they're standing for. But the reality of it is you got nearly 4,000 people, according to reports that are coming from there. Here's what they're not talking about. This may be the most important thing. They're burning down mosques. Why are you burning down mosques? You see a lot of people holding out signs saying, I'm Persian, but I'm not an Islamist. You hear all these candidates about, hey, I'm going to be able to save Iran. I'm going to be able to do this. And the media not wanting to cover something like this. The most important thing right now is the courageous Iranian people who are on the streets going and doing their part. If we do it right, the combination, remember, sometimes you got to realize God is sometimes does certain things in its own magical way. This is the 47th year of the Islamic revolution that happened under Khomeini. And this is the 47th president. If the stars are lined up, if God is watching over us, this may be the first year in 47 years that Iran could be free with a big help by the president of the United States of America, which is President Donald J. Trump.
And isn't he the 47th president? Ooh, spooky. I love a bit of numerology. What a coincidence. Let's hear from LBC, leading Britain's conversation.
It is not enough that the regime falls. What replaces it? Because it's entirely possible that what replaces it is a military dictatorship. Look, in 1979, when the Shah was overthrown by this regime, they had the Ayatollah Khomeini, not Khamenei, Khamenei's predecessor Khomeini, waiting in the wings. As soon as the Shah fell, in he stepped. The regime has no legitimacy anymore. They used to shout, women, life, freedom. They used to shout about electoral reform. They're not talking about reform anymore. It's like, we want this regime gone.
And potentially in a not dissimilar way to how Trump is trying to go into Venezuela and free up the oil supplies and deal with the drugs. maybe you could make the argument we're going to go in, we're going to destroy their nuclear program, and then we'll pull back again.
There are lots of options for the Americans. I just hope that they use them widely. Trump does seem to be getting even more maniacal, if that's possible. But let's see. I mean, I'll tell you something else, though. Trump, for all his flaws and as a person, he's a pig of a man. But my God, in foreign policy, he overturned decades of received wisdom. Iran is now weaker than it's ever been, due in part to those strikes. It is a very, very historic time in that region, and a large part of it, whether we like him or not, is down to Donald Trump.
So everybody hates Donald Trump, but of course, until he does something that you like, then you love him. Let's hear some more views. Again, this is someone outside Iran hoping for the removal of the Islamic
What
Republic.
freedoms do Iranians not have in 2026? Let's start with freedom of expression, because the government has enforced a near total internet blackout. Fixed lines, mobile networks down to prevent communication inside and outside of the country about these protests, which is probably why you're hearing some of these things from me and others instead of the Iranians that we should all be listening to. So independent media is banned, digital surveillance targets dissidents, and there's also a tiered internet system where access is granted based on loyalty to the regime. Earlier this month, Iran expanded the death penalty for espionage and collaboration with enemies, while also criminalising posts that are deemed to be false information. Peaceful protests are met with lethal force. We know that security forces use live ammunition, which has resulted in deaths, as well as, of course, thousands of arrests. And on the 10th of January this year, Iran's Attorney General declared that anyone participating in or helping protests would be labelled an enemy of God, a charge carrying the death penalty. Despite constitutional provision for political parties, Iran operates under state control, so opposition parties are effectively banned. Women face legal discrimination in marriage, divorce, inheritance, employment, and the government is planning stricter mandatory hijab laws for 2026. Non-Shia minorities, especially Baha'is, face systemic persecution, including denial of education and employment. Homosexuality is criminalised, punishable by death. Independent unions are banned, only state-controlled councils exist, so striking workers face dismissal and arrest. And of course, runaway inflation and currency collapse mean that basic goods are unaffordable for millions, so economic freedoms severely compromised.
Well, she's definitely right to mention the Baha'i faith. People of that religion, minority religion in Iran, have suffered a lot, and there is no denying that one. And other sects of Islam also, but not to the same degree. Is this AI, catalytic converter, saying? No, I don't think so. Doing my research for this brilliant broadcast that I sort of throw together every night, I flick through the Twitter videos, sometimes the Instagram reels. You do end up seeing a lot of videos posted from women speaking to the camera. I don't know if that's the algorithm showing me what it thinks I want to watch, or maybe are a lot of women on board with this because it's a feminist issue, the treatment of women in Iran. They're talking about the forced wearing of the hijab. Maybe it's an issue that appeals to women, although not to the wider feminist community that we usually see. I know J.K. Rowling has sort of picked on that community and tried to expose them with a bit of whataboutery and saying, why don't you care about this? Fiderman X doesn't agree with this lady, and that's okay. Gustav is saying, good reels, lots of news we don't see as often here in the USA. Great to have you watching. And the US of A must be your early evening time. Here's some footage from London. We had protests today, and here are the speakers.
Starmer's government has allowed the UK to become a playground for terrorism, to become a money laundering capital for the IRGC. And the failure to designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization here in the UK is purely due to moral cowardice. Shame! Shame! Shame on Keir Starmer. Shame on the UK government. Proscribe the IRGC as a terror organization now. We can't wait longer. The people of Iran are pouring out in the streets, risking their lives. No internet, 3 days. No phone connectivity. No ability to speak to their families. No protection, no assistance. We're calling on the international community to take action to help the people of Iran. Logistical support, kinetic support, internet connectivity, whatever can be done, now is the time. And lastly, I want to say, as an Israeli, as a proud Israeli who has stood by you for many years, I want to thank you, the people of Iran and Iranians all over the world, for standing with Israel and for standing with us.
Okay, she left the last bit, the best bit till last. Look, there's going to be a lot of people feeling awkward. You may not support Israel, but you may support freedom of speech and other human rights in Iran. In the chat, Harry Potter goes to Iran. Yeah, that's a good one. We've also got psychopaths are incapable of shame. She was having a pop at Keir Starmer. Unfortunately for Keir Starmer, everyone hates him for different reasons. So you're always going to get a cheer if you start having a pop at him in a speech. Okay, that was someone in London. We've heard people in America. This guy claims to be in Iran. I can't confirm it, but he's saying he's in Tehran. Let's have a listen.
Good evening from Tehran, and as we see the situation in here, we apparently supposed to believe this is all about freedom, right? Actually, I want to tell you a story today that you all know about. For decades, the US tried to pressure Iran through sanctions, threats, wars, or proxies. But now we have a new actor in here, the latest hero of democracy, a billionaire from Silicon Valley. You know him? I bet you do. Elon Musk. The guy who somehow owns the satellites, controls the platform, and magically always aligns with US foreign policy. You know, through stalling thousands of terminals, quietly has entered Iran. Of course, not for schools, not for hospitals, not for ordinary people, but for coordination, for networks, for operations that suddenly look very spontaneous, and actually it's not only about Iran. You know, I mean, this guy has experience. As you know, same guy interferes in Venezuela, admits helping overthrow Bolivia's government, cheers for the far-right movements in Europe, and boosts extremists in the UK. And he has also a role in Canada with the election interferes somehow. That's what we have. I mean, this is the situation in here with him. One unelected billionaire decides who gets internet, who gets a voice, and which country deserves to dedicate its oil to the United States and of course its land to the Israel. Simple and easy.
Yeah, Elon Musk gets to choose who has the internet because he's got that machine that he can turn on. What is it called? The Starlink. Yeah, the access to the internet in Iran. I was in Iran in 2017, and I remember to get onto Facebook, I had to get one of those. What do they call it when you do something on your phone and you can access the internet? I had to download an app or something. I couldn't just get on Facebook like that, or YouTube, possibly WhatsApp. I can't remember. What's it called when you have to put something on your phone so that you can access the internet? Here's Nigel. Isn't it funny? What do you think his view will be on the whole Iran situation? But before we do that, I'm going to read one more comment. Where's it gone? Yeah, to end the MEK and Mossad, as I said, but we risk one big mix-up and misdirection, so we break social cohesion. It's a problem. Yeah, the MEK, Armed Opposition Mujahideen Khalq organisation that began as like a form of a communist rival to the Islamic Revolution, and they're still in the background, and they were removed from the list of terror groups a few years ago. My query has been cured. VPN. Thank you, Captain Homer. Well remembered, or well deciphered. Yes, in order to get on the internet in Iran, or get on Facebook or WhatsApp, whatever it was, I had to get a VPN. Well done. I don't think there was there Twitter in 2017? If there was, I didn't have it. I don't think so. Yeah, I needed a VPN. Anyway, let's hear from Nigel. Isn't it funny?
But what is going on
right
now in Iran is something that should give us great thought. Back in 2015, President Obama, the European Union, the British Foreign Office, and then later on Boris Johnson and all the rest did a deal with this appalling, evil regime that has been there for 50 years, that has continued their theocratic, appalling, barbarous rule. And I want to say this to those brave men and women out there on the streets of Tehran and elsewhere now, fighting to get back their freedoms, their liberties. As far as I'm concerned right now, long live the revolution. I pray for the Persian people.
Iranian people, Nigel. This use of the term Persian is a bit archaic, isn't it? Iran used to be known as Persia until the Shah changed the name, because the Persians are only one ethnicity among the whole of Iran. It would be a little bit like when people refer to the United Kingdom as England, or they think that everyone in the UK is English. You would think someone like Nigel Farage would be aware of that, but he's wishing his best to the Persian people. We, of course, wish the best to all Iranians. That's Arabs that live in Iran, Kurds that live in Iran, Luz, is that another ethnic group? Baluchistan in the east, and many more. Let's hear an English guy talking about Iran. For some reason, this gentleman is very passionate about Iran. Where is he? Here we go.
I'm Bob Blackman, the chairman of the British Committee for Iran Freedom. And I salute the brave individuals who are putting their lives on the line, literally every moment, for freedom and democracy in Iran. I'm following very closely your heroic uprising, which has now expanded to at least 173 cities across all provinces. Your bravery in establishing liberated neighbourhoods in Mashhad and epic resistance in Lodegan is truly inspired the world. But I'm issuing an urgent warning today. The Iranian regime has imposed a digital blackout, with internet access plummeting to a mere 5%. This engineered shutdown is a sinister precursor to a planned massacre. The regime's Chief of Justice has said openly he's ordered for decisive and swift action with no room for leniency or clemency, which is a clear call for mass executions and killings. We've already received harrowing reports of a massacre in Fardis, Karaj, and the martyrdom of at least 54 individuals, including 7 teenagers as young as 14. So at this critical moment, I must warn you against a very dangerous security trap. Elements of the deposed monarchy, who spent the first 10 days of this uprising on vacation and in leisure, are now calling for people to shout slogans from their homes at 8 p.m. This is a calculated attempt to empty the streets and hand over your names and addresses to the IRGC and the intelligence agents. Your awareness in chanting death to the oppressor, whether the Shah or the leader, shows that the Iranian people will never return to the dictatorships of the past. The only democratic alternative remains the National Council of Resistance of Iran, the NCRI, and Maryam Rajavi's progressive 10-point plan for a secular, non-nuclear republic. So in the British Parliament, we will continue to press for the proscription of the IRGC in its entirety as a terrorist organisation. This is not just a gesture of support for you, it's an act of self-defence for the United Kingdom, against the regime's global terror. So, I salute you, you brave resistance fighters. Freedom and democracy is coming. Stay steadfast, and let's look forward to a free and democratic Iran.
Okay, and once again, I'll play his name again.
I'm Bob Blackman, the chairman of the British Committee for Iran Freedom.
British Committee for Iran Freedom. That's who he represents. Well, someone said that Iran in the 1960s looked like France. Yeah, that could be a scene in a European city, couldn't it? That's what Iranians looked like prior to the Islamic Revolution. Here's another one. You've probably seen these pictures before. They're quite iconic. And there's the Shah. I suppose that is his son then, right in the middle. Shah Reza. And he fled to Egypt when it all kicked off. That's where the Shah wound up, in Egypt after the Islamic Revolution. And there's another picture of the streets of Tehran. This was taken very recently. That's quite a good shot. I've got one more picture for you. Yeah, overhead footage. I don't know how these are being sent to us if there's no internet available, but there's always a way. Someone must have a VPN. That's apparently how you do it. SAG is saying, pimp Reza Pahlavi. Yeah, could be. Carter brought the Shah to the USA. Yeah, I suppose it would have been Jimmy Carter in those days. And he was a great man after he was president. Not that he was a great president at the time. All right, folks. This story is going to run and run. I hope we have no invasion. I would love to visit Iran again. It was possible to do so on my Irish passport. It would have been difficult on the British passport at the time. I think British people could only enter Iran if they have a tour guide with them or they're part of an official tour. My Irish passport entitled me to visa upon arrival. I would love to do that again, and I would love to see Iran safe and peaceful. People like what they can recognize. This is good stuff. I have hope we will find balance and learn the benefits of all different lifestyles. Yeah, look, the pendulum swings, doesn't it? You go from one extreme to another. Some people might say that dressing in European clothing and looking like that or like this is extreme. Oh, we're Persian, we're Middle Eastern, we're Muslim. We shouldn't dress like that. But then again, maybe forcing people to wear a hijab when religion is meant to be no compulsion in religion, maybe that's also extreme. And maybe in the end, we'll find some kind of balance, some kind of equilibrium. There's a happy family. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me. Try and go again tomorrow night around a similar time, God willing. This has been Lessons for Life. We were here. We're gone. Latest.